What is up, friends of YouTube? This is Luke, and this is another EDH list for you. This is Trostani Selesnya's Voice. This is some tokens, a lot of big fat beaters, and as much life gain as I can kind of cram in. There is an infinite combo in here, and it's pretty fun and awesome, and just good value creatures, basically. So let's get into it. Trostani is a 2/5 for 2 green and 2 white. She's a dryad, and whenever another creature ETBs under my control, I gain life equal to that creature's toughness. And then I can pay 1 and a Selesnya, 1 a green and a white, and tap her to populate. So usually she's very popular with token strategies. I've got some tokens in here, not a whole lot. I like the life gain part quite a bit better. And I can get up to, I've seen people get up to thousands of life actually with this commander. So that's her. Let's go on to the mana base, forests and plains. A whole bunch of them. Let's count it up, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 forests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plains. So 14 and 7. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. If I wasn't Ratchet, I would have had that already for you. Okay, and non-basic lands. Treetop Village comes into play tapped. It taps for a green, and then it becomes a 3/3 creature with trample until end of turn if you pay 1 and a green. If you've played against Jund ever, you've played against this. Reliquary Tower. This, again, can draw a good amount of cards, so you don't want to have to discard them. Sunpetal Grove, Buddyland, Terramorphic Expanse, tutors for a basic, Temple of Plenty, Scryland, Grey Pelt Refuge, Gain a Life, and is a dual. V2 Ghazi, the Tree City, it taps for a colorless, and then I can pay 2 and a Selesnya and tap it to put a green Sapperling creature token onto the field. Nykthos, it can tap for white or green. Green is more prevalent, but it's there's a lot of devotion in this list, so good to have. Canopy Vista, the Tango Land from BFZ. Selesnya Sanctuary is the bounce land, tap for a green and a white. Blossoming Sands, another life land. Tranquil Expanse, tap land. Evolving Wilds, another basic fetch. Selesnya Guild Gates, another dual that taps. Command Tower, obviously, this is a 2-color deck. Now we get into the mana rocks, if you will. This is a German land tax. I also use this in my Atheros list. It's basically it's an enchantment for 1 white. If you have fewer lands than one of your opponents at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to tutor for up to 3 basics. Throw them into your hand so you can make your land drops. Selesnya, it's not Signet. Charm, maybe? No. You pay 1 and you tap it, and you get a Selesnya Signet, yeah. So it's pay 1 colorless, tap it, and it gives you a green and a white. Soul Ring taps for a 2 colorless. Cryptolith Rite from SOI. Creatures you control tap this to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This can get some serious mana. The ramp is real with this deck, son. Zendikar Resurgent, that's what I'm talking about. 5 and 2 green enchantment. Whenever you tap a land for mana, you add another mana of that same color that it produced. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. This is out of Oath, so it's badass. Awesome card. Also awesome is Mirari's Wake. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and then it does the same thing. Whenever you tap for a land for mana, it taps for that +1. Emerald Medallion, your green stuff costs 1 less to play. And then Kodama's Reach, you search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, and put them onto the field tapped. Or 1 on the field tapped and 1 in your hand, and then you shuffle your library. All right, that's the ramp. Let's now talk about the creatures in ascending order of CMC. First, you got Mom. Tap her to give protection to another creature or to a creature. Scavenging Ooze. You can pay one green, exile a card from a graveyard, and if that was a creature, you gain 1 life and put a +1/+1 counter on Skoos. Yesterday, I played a match with a guy who was playing Sidisi, and he was dredging everything, and he started swinging at me, and I started gobbling up all of his shit and gaining double life and all sorts of stuff, and he was pissed off. And this thing was up to like a 2020 by then. It was freaking beautiful, man. So his power was going down as mine was going up because he had like Golgari Grave Troll and the other stuff that gets big for every creature in the graveyard. So Scavenging Ooze is awesome at dealing with graveyard shenanigans. Eternal Witness is awesome with your own graveyard shenanigans. It's a regrowth on a stick. Comes into play, you grab something back out of your yard. Mana Gorger Hydra. Any spell that's cast gets a +1/+1 counter. It usually becomes a gigantic 20/20 beat stick, and then somebody kills it because it's just too good. Reclamation Sage, the beautiful one. When it ETBs, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Spike Feeder is one part of the combo with Archangel of Thune. This sucker, it comes into play with 2 1/1 counters on it. You can pay 2 and remove a counter to throw a counter onto something else. Or if you remove a 1/1 counter, you gain 2 life. So I'll set that to the side and we'll talk about that later. This is Wall of Reverence, I believe. Not Wall of Resurgence. Wall of Reverence, it's a 1/6 flyer that you can actually, you gain life equal to the highest power of the creatures you control at the end of your turn. So if you have a 5/5, you can gain 5 life at the end of your turn. Monastery Mentor, 2/2 prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 monk creature token with prowess onto the field. So more tokens. Good for the populate ability on Trostani. Solemn Simulacrum, Sadbot, when he comes into play, tutor for a land. Tapped on the field, and then when he dies, you draw a card. Poor Sadbot. Elvish Piper, this freaks some people out because she's really good. 1/1, easy to kill for 3 and a green, and you basically get to pay 1, tap her, and put a creature from your hand into play at instant speed. Academy Rector. When Academy Rector is thrown into the graveyard, you can remove her from the game. And if you do, search your library for an enchantment card, throw it onto the field, and then shuffle your library. So you get one of your really badass enchantments. Rock's Faith Mender gains you double life, basically. If you would gain life, gain double. He himself has lifelink. Acidic Slime. When it comes into play, it's got Death Touch, and when it comes into play, destroy an artifact, enchantment, or land. So it's really good. And sometimes you can bounce stuff as well, and that helps as well. Thrag Tusk, when it comes into play, you gain 5 life, and when it leaves the battlefield, you get a 3/3 green beast token that you can populate. Wormcoil Engine is especially good here because when the Wormcoil Engine dies, it breaks apart into a 3/3 Death Touch and a 3/3 Lifelinker that you can begin to populate. I did that yesterday, and it was really a cause of concern to a lot of people. Felidar Sovereign. With all the life we're going to gain, we might as well have an opportunity to win the game. So Felidar Sovereign has Vigilance and Lifelink for 6 mana. He's a 4/6, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. Period. End of story. Fuck you. And so there are ways that you can tutor in, or you can actually throw it down at the end of somebody's turn or at the beginning of your upkeep with your Elvish Piper. So there are ways to kind of shenanigan his way, so you don't have to play him legit and then have to and then he has to actually walk, and he has to actually survive for an entire round, which is difficult. There's Archangel of Thune. This is the combo. All my decks have one single super combo except for my Zergo list, which doesn't really need it. But yeah, so basically you remove a counter from Spike Feeder, and Archangel of Thune says whenever you gain life, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So you gain 2 life, throw a 1/1 counter on all your creatures, including Spike Feeder. So that replaces the counter that you just took off. Then you do it again. and gain another 2 life. And all your creatures get another +1/+1 counter. And you can do that an infinite number of times. And that's how I won yesterday. It's an easy way of like ending the game because you want to go home and it's taking forever. But yeah, this is the Spike Feeder Thune combo. It's very popular in Modern, and it works damn well in EDH, let me tell you, because you can tutor both of those suckers up with one enchantment that I'll show you later. Sunscorched Region is a Mana Gorger Hydra, except better. 3 and 2 white, 4/3 flying, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, gain a life and give it a 1/1 counter. So he becomes a big-ass beater, too. Soul of the Harvest. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. He's got Trample. He's a 6/6 for 6. Woodfall Primus is pretty hilarious. He's like an evil kitchen finks with Persist. He costs 5 and 3 green, 6/6 Trample. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent, and then he's got Persist. So if you kill him, he just comes right back. Greed and Warden of Marasa is a great way of getting your creatures back out of the yard when somebody's wiped the board or something. When he enters the battlefield, you can return target card from your yard to your hand. And then when he dies, you can exile him and then return target card from your yard to your hand. So he does it twice. Pretty badass. Dragon Lord Dramoka. I'm told this is a female, so I'll call her a she. 4 and a Selesnya for a 5/7 lifelink flying. Can't be countered, and your opponents can't cast spells on your turn. This is actually a possible alternate commander. In some ways, she's better than Trostani. The reason she's not my commander is because I'm going for the lifelink and not so much for the... Like, nobody's going to kill Trostani. Some people might copy or steal her. But people want to kill Dramoka because Dramoka is a combat-oriented commander. And I also don't play her because there's a buddy of mine who I play with quite often who our decks are similar enough. And his commander is Dramoka. And so in order to protect Dramoka, you have to have a lot of like totem armor and indestructibility and stuff like that. And I just don't want to bother with it. But it's too good a card not to play. So 5/7 flying lifelink. Opponents can't cast spells on your turn. That's a sick ability. Pristine Angel, I pulled it in a conspiracy draft, I think. 4 and 2 white, 4/4 flying, and as long as it's untapped, it gets protection from artifacts and all other colors. Whenever you cast a spell, you can untap Pristine Angel. This deck doesn't do a lot of attacking, I'll tell you the truth. Usually it attacks when it needs to, but I'm not the kind of super aggro attacking kind of player, so it just kind of sits back as a blocker, and then I find a way to win once a few people have already begun to get pissed off at each other and beat the crap out of each other. Amiria's Shepherd is a great way of getting stuff back from your yard. Flying 4/4 for 7. Landfall. When you throw a land, when you play a land, you tutor, or you don't tutor. You get to bring back a non-land permanent from your yard into your hand. And if that land is a plains, instead of going to your hand, it goes from your yard onto the field. So it's an awesome value creature. Regal Force draws you cards when it enters the battlefield for each green creature you have on the field. I have to actually count and see if this guy's still worth being in here, but he costs 7, 5/5, and he's really good. You'll see him in Legacy Elves sometime as well. Hornet Queen, she gets bees. 7, 4 and 3 green. Flying Death Touch, and when she enters the battlefield, put 4 green, 1/1 insect, creature tokens with Flying and Death Touch onto the field. She herself is a 2/2. Verdant Force, costs 8, 5 and 3 green, 7/7, and then during each player's upkeep, put a 1/1 green Saproling token onto the field. So this guy goes really wide. And now that I think of it, I should really, if I've got this many tokens, I should really be putting in, not Batterskull, Skull Clamps in here to draw extra cards. That might have to happen. All right, into the gods. We've got Karametra, God of the Harvest. She is a Selesnya colored 6/7 legendary enchantment. Because she's bicolored, you have to have green and white devotion 7 or above in order to man her up. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you can tutor for a forest or a plains, throw it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. This is cool because it has to be a forest or a plains. It doesn't have to be a basic land. So you can tutor for, if you have, what is it, a Savannah or a Temple Garden or a Canopy Vista or one of those fetchables, you can actually tutor for that rather than just a basic. So she's cool. Planeswalker, Garuk, Primal Hunter, 2 and 3 green. He spits out beast tokens, and then you can -1 him, or -3 him to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then you -6 to put a green 6/6 worm creature token onto the field for each land you control. Don't often use that one. Maybe I should start looking for opportunities. Tutors, Court of Calling, instant speed convoke. Search your library for a creature card, CMC X or less, and throw it onto the field, then shuffle your library. And the cost is X and 3 green, but you can convoke it. So you tap a creature, and that creature pays for a colorless or one of that color. Green Sun Zenith, search your library for a creature card, CMC X or less, and throw it onto the battlefield and shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. So unless it gets countered, it doesn't go away. Genesis Wave, reveal X, it's 3 and X, reveal X cards of your library, and then you can put any number of permanent cards with CMC X or less onto the field, and then the rest of the cards put into your graveyard. So fantastic. Don't see the Genesis Wave nearly often enough. In fact, I might have never seen it. This is an awesome enchantment that you can get with the Academy Rector, Defense of the Heart. It's a 3 and a green enchantment from the Urza Saga, or Urza's block. During your upkeep, if one or more of your creatures, or if your opponents controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defense of the Heart, tutor for 2 creatures, throw them onto the battlefield. So if you get Archangel of Thune and Spike Feeder, you can immediately combo off right there and make your guys infinitely big and gain infinite life. So the only thing that kills you is commander damage or being decked. Additionally, I don't know exactly how the rules work, but if you have 40 or more life, or in my playgroups case, it has to be 80 or more just to make it fair. You can grab a Felidar Sovereign. That's just a house rule that we have. You can grab your Felidar Sovereign and then win the game right there. And then the question is that really happening at the beginning of your upkeep, or is it later in your upkeep? But that's something for judges to decide. But for right now, that tutors for 2 creatures, and it's freaking bananas. Pattern of Rebirth, enchant creature. So you throw this onto a creature. If that creature dies, you tutor for a creature and throw it onto the field. So same sort of deal. Removal and protection. Swords to Plowshares, exile a creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. Stasis Snare. Flash, exile a creature until the Stasis Snare leaves the field. Wrath of God, kills everything. Oblivion Ring, exile a permanent until Oblivion Ring leaves. Other value stuff, Pulse of Marasa, gain 6 life and return a creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Karmic Justice, if somebody messes with my enchantments, I get, or on any of my other non-creature permanents, I get to destroy something of theirs. It disincentivizes people from attacking me or trying to destroy my stuff. Journey to Nowhere is another exile spell just for creatures. Quarantine Field is an exile spell, but double X. So if I have all my ramp in place, I can really exile a whole buttload of stuff. Aura Shards. Anytime a creature comes into play under my control, I can destroy an artifact or enchantment. Asceticisms. Asceticism, my creatures can't get hexproof, and I can regenerate a target creature. So I can actually be political with this because it's any creature, not just mine. Respite, it's a fog that gains you life for each attacking creature. Well of Lost Dreams, whenever I gain life, I can pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life gained, and then I can draw that many cards. Eladamri's Call, tutor for a creature card, reveal it and throw it into your hand. Sterling Grove, all other enchantments gain Shroud, and then I can pay 1 and sacrifice Sterling Grove, tutor for an enchantment, and throw it on top of my library. Celestial Mantle, 3 and 3 whites, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, double my life total. So you gain all the life. Collective Blessing, creatures I control get +3/+3. Conjurer's Closet, this is awesome because I've got a ton of ETBs. I'm in love with ETBs. 5-drop artifact, beginning of my end step, I can bounce a creature I can blink a creature back and forth. So I can keep destroying stuff with the Acidic Slime or Woodfall Primus, or I can keep getting stuff out of my library, or out of my hand, rather. I'm sorry, out of the graveyard with the Green Water Marasa. There's just so much stuff you can do. All right, this is getting a little long. Bow of Nylea does everything. Attacking creatures I control get Death Touch. I can pay 1 and a green and tap it to either put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Bow of Nylea deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, gain 3 life, or put the top 4 cards from my graveyard onto the bottom of my library in any order. So this card does a lot of little things. Swifty Boots to give protection or to give hexproof to something, and then Almaret's Archive, which doubles the amount of life I would gain, and then doubles the amount of cards that I would draw. So that is Trostani. She's hella good. She's got some really strong combos and an instant win with Felidar Sovereign, and she's a hell of a lot of fun. Again, if you have any questions, if you have any recommendations, any way I can make these videos better, let me know in the comments. And yeah, like, subscribe, let me know what your thoughts are, and what you're playing in EDH or in Magic the Gathering in general. Until that time, draw well, play well, and I'll talk to you later. Cheers.